I think we look handsome as can be. I don't know.
I'm fine with it.
I think girls are gonna be falling all over us. That's just one man's opinion, but we're a couple. You know, I don't know if you can handle this.
Is this handsome?
This is. I feel like.
Yeah.
Right?
All right.
That's a love that can't be broken. That's the sting of a heart cut open. That's the thing about blind devotion. That's a love that can't be broken. That's a love that can't be broken.
Hello, it is Michael Serio downstairs at the North Star Bar in Philadelphia with Chris Carrabba as Twin Forts comes to the North Star tonight, and Chris was nice enough to sit down and hang out for a little bit. Hello, sir. How are you?
I feel great. I feel like $100.
$100?
Yeah.
Is it normally like $1 million?
I mean, let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's a start.
I was looking at Instagram. You guys have been kind of vanning it around the country.
We do this.
What's the plan in the van? What do you guys do to pass the time?
We watch Bob's Burgers a lot. There's a lot of making fun of each other. On occasion, we sleep when we're not driving. What else do we do? What do we do to pass the time? We stop for lunch and gas.
We stop for lunch. Like that's the game that you guys play. Let's all play Stop for Lunch. How does it feel? Because I saw you guys last year, and you know, Twin Forts has just gotten bigger and bigger as the year has progressed. Now that the album is out,
we're eating right. We got our eye on the prize. We're trying to shed a few.
Yes. Well, you got to stop playing Stop for Lunch as a game.
That's true.
That's part
Look
of
at that callback this kid has. Wow.
Full circle,
Michael.
Chris. Woo. How does this feel different? I mean, this time around, you obviously a bunch of different incarnations of a bunch of different bands that I want to talk about that have held very important places in my heart. But how is the Twin Forts thing different than, I don't know, say, with Further Seems Forever or with Dashboard?
Well, I guess obviously it starts with the combination of people. Each band is really important to me. When I say band, each group of people is really important to me. And there's a lot of crossover. There's, you know, guys from Further that'll show up and play a little bit on a Twin Forts song because they're there, or sometimes, you know, with Dashboard, Jonathan will play a little guitar lick or something like that. So there's plenty of crossover, but I think that the main thing is the different personalities are what make the band and give the band the identity. And I'm not quite sure how I changed my point of view. I'm not sure how I changed my point of view when it comes to each band. I just know that I do. So if I write a song, it's pretty evident to me that it's a Dashboard song, or it's evident to me that it's a Twin Forks song. And with Further, it's evident to everybody that it's a Further song because they're like, well, I don't know what, you know, time signature that is, and so that means it's a Further song.
Well, when you talk about that, like putting yourself in different modes, do you still write in the different veins, or is it like I'm Twin Forts right now and this is what I'm doing, or is it still a little bit of everything?
No,
you say, well, this is for this when that happens.
Well, I guess I couldn't say that I should say that I'm mainly writing Twin Forks songs right now, but that doesn't mean I'm exclusively writing them. You just chase the muse wherever it goes. And I know pretty instantly, based on a number of factors, like with Further, it's mostly like all the guitar parts come first, and the melodies come so much later, which is unusual for me, because when it comes to Dashboard and Twin Forks, the melodies come almost concurrently with whatever chords or melodies I'm playing on the guitar, even as I'm writing them. They may be nonsensical or whatever, but they hint at where it's going. I think there's a definite mood to each of these bands, Twin Forks and Dashboard, that's specific. Maybe hard to define for me, easier to define for other people, but I know it when I feel it. And certainly I think lyrically there's a different point of view for those two bands.
I'd love to talk to you about Dashboard for a second, because I'm 31 and it was so important to me. And I know for a lot of people, I remember being a junior in high school and finding Swiss Army Romance and going, cool, I can be this, like, here's a guy who's speaking emotionally, like, kind of how I feel. And it was a release when everyone else was, you know, into different alt-rock and Dave, and that was, like, all that was. It was something that kind of broke through and was so important to me. And then you would go to those shows, and the whole room was in unison singing the words, and it was like you were kind of you were almost a bystander to this moment, and I wonder, how does that feel on the other side of it? Because I know how powerful it was for me to be in the audience and to be a part of it, and I can't even imagine.
It's spectacular, man. I mean, the thought of it can bring me to near tears. You know, like it's just overwhelming. You know, it's like this. You make a record and I was in that same place with all the people listening to all those same bands, and so I made a record in my bedroom thinking, here's something no one will ever hear. And then that strange thing where it became like a collective. And they weren't my songs. Immediately, they weren't my songs anymore. They went from being the most personal things I could say, because I knew no one would ever hear them, to it being, by far and away, a communal experience that I felt like, as the singer, I was included. As the person, I was able to, like, kind of look at it askance and say, like, this is bananas, like, what's happening here.
What was the most surreal moment of all of it? Because, I mean, for me, watching you and, like, feeling like I kind of grew with you in a lot of ways, it was this tiny acoustic record that meant the world to me, and then a couple years later, it's like the lead single for a Spider-Man movie. Like, that whole, it became this Dashboard became so massive. Like, was there a moment where you just went, how did this happen?
See, I would like say that was surreal, but all that happened so organically, you know?
Right.
And then the jumps in our career from basement shows all the way up to arenas in Madison Square Garden, all that seemed connected to me. There was a great moment of disconnection, and that was when I got a call when we were in the studio making Dusk and Summer. And the call was, Bono loves your record. I was like, oh, I didn't know he liked the record. He's like, yeah, no, he likes your new record that you're making. Oh, how does Bono know the record Well, he's Bono, so he can listen to records that aren't even done, I guess.
He has that power.
So,
I hear it.
So then they said, we'd really love, he wants you to open up for you too. I said, of course. Yeah. So that was the most surreal moment, only followed shortly out thereafter with the more surreal moment of like, okay, see you Thursday. Because usually it's like months in advance to get invited. And this was like, well, pack your shit, buddy. You got to be there in a day and a half, you know? So that was really surreal. That was the moment where you realize, like, these guys that are heroes of yours see something valid in what you're doing, and I come to find out inspiring about what we were doing, something that was pushing them. That was pretty surreal.
The greatest compliment I can say to you about that, about all those organic moments, is, and you know this, you're a big music guy, is so many bands you see grow like that, and then you lose them at some point. And I never felt like I lost you guys. Like, it never felt like it it went a way that I was uncomfortable with. Like, there's been bands where you grow and you see them at the little tiny clubs, and then you go see them at a giant venue, and you go, this isn't mine anymore.
There was a term I had called the meddling hand. And I said, I never want the listener to feel the meddling hand of the people around us, giving us the advice or trying to steer the rudder in the direction they saw the band going. I needed advice. I didn't know how to be a band that was big. Right. And so I had advisors, and we signed to labels that were used to having bands as big as us. We weren't used to being a band as big as us. But I stuck to that pretty hard, that instinct pretty hard. I'm glad to know that you never felt like it kind of got away from you, like it was taken away from you or anything like that. And I'd felt that about some bands I'd loved. Like, maybe some of it was my youthful arrogance. Like, once a band got popular, they weren't for me anymore. Which, when I would, like, now that I have an adult perspective, I obviously love those records. And they're fantastic. Everybody's right to love every big Green Day record. Just because I saw them in clubs smaller than this didn't mean I had the right to write them off. You know what I mean? Of course, they're Green Day. Everybody's going to love them, you know? They're still for me, and they are still for me. But I didn't want to make some giant left turn. But one thing that we had going for us was that our audience gave us this wide berth. The early audience were adopters of Dashboard from Further, so they knew that I did this other kind of music that was angular and heavy, and sometimes heavy, electric guitars, so on. So they weren't so jolted when I picked up an electric guitar and Dashboard. So that was one benefit. The fact that when I made records, I'd say my first two records and first two EPs are pretty of a singular mind, kind of, in terms of the attitude of production and instrumentation. But once I made like Mark a Mission, there's electric guitar on there. There's also plenty of acoustic guitar. But there's like acoustic guitar songs on there that my producer just begged me to make electric guitar. So you don't understand, you have a hit here. You're failing at this. You have a hit song but it won't be because it's just acoustic guitar. And I would have to, and I won the argument, maybe to the detriment of the length of my career. Who knows? Well, I still have a career, so obviously not, I guess. But
things have worked
at the
out.
possibility of the detriment of my career, just standing my ground, like, no, this is what makes us us to the people that made us us.
I could sit here and talk about Dashboard forever. I do want to talk about Twin Forts though, because there's concerts happening.
Yeah.
You guys
talk about both.
You guys have to play at some point. Twin Forts. So originally, just kind of like a thing that, you know the story better than I do. Like, just we're kind of harkening back to some stuff that you were really into when you were younger, and kind of developed into this full-on band, but wasn't initially the intention, right? But now, it is.
I'll give you the condensed roundabout story. So I started making a Dashboard record, and nobody in Dashboard lives in the same state. No two people. And I'll admit, and they know, that I never really liked that. I'd always hoped that, we could convene in the same neighborhood and live there.
Just get like a real-world house in Florida, and just all you guys.
In the house with them.
You could. You guys should get like bunk beds, like Dashboard Confessional bunk beds.
That seems like a terrible idea. But at least the same neighbor, at least the same state. Anyway, so I
Look, weirder things have happened in Florida, for sure.
For sure. Face-eating men, and those kinds of things. Anyway.
Sorry, I digress.
Yes, I don't live in Florida anymore because of the face-eater. But that was the last straw.
Yeah.
That dude's eating another dude's face. We're out of
They're eating faces, bro. I'm out.
No eating.
See ya.
No face eating. So, but I made this Dashboard record. Sometimes I would make them as demos, and I'd play the drums, I'd play the bass, whatever, send them off, and they would learn them, then we'd convene. And obviously they would make the songs much better. It would give that band identity that we had because it was those players. But at the time, I just kind of like got into this finishing mode. Like, I got a great satisfaction from completion of tracks. So I'd start the day with no song, and at the end of the day, I'd have a fully completed song. And I did a record. Finished a record. I was excited about it. And the drives crashed. Like, all the drives crashed. I had like my main drive, my backup drive, and my backup drive. And I won't go through the whole rigmarole, but I lost everything, including other records I've made.
Wow.
So then I went through the trouble of starting again, and I just didn't have the heart for it, to be honest with you. We were sitting around outside the garage, and we do a guitar pull every night. John will just shred and play something great. You'll be so inspired, and then you'll sing a song, It's almost always covers. The things you grew up with as kids is mainly what you're playing with. It's like getting back to a youthful center place,
right.
So I played... good Lord, I couldn't tell you what I played. But it was some kind of very intricate finger-picking thing. And with a pretty powerful kind of vocal pattern, but most of the thing that was happening was in the hands. And John, who I've never seen him before or since do this, if your arm was the guitar, he just put his hand like that on the strings, like dead strings, right in the middle, like having fun. I got beers, friends all around. We got a little fire in the driveway. What happened? And he looked at me with such a serious face, like the epiphany. He said, "Chris, why are you afraid to do what you love?" And I'd say, Michael, you'd probably would be surprised to hear that about me too, knowing what you know about my music, and most of the hits I've taken as criticism are that I'm not afraid to just do what I think is the right thing. I don't worry about what some critic is going to say about it or whatever. So I was astounded. Like, I've only ever done that. And I had to go home and examine that. And he was right. I was like hiding from this big, giant influence in my life because I knew it meant like completely starting over with a new audience. If I did this, it would mean not just hanging it on the dashboard shingle. It would mean telling the dashboard fans, like, or telling promoters, like, don't put dashboard on the ticket. Don't put dashboard on the marquee. If we're gonna start, we can't trade on any of what dashboard did, which is a scary place. So I decided he was right. I chased that kind of songwriting, and I think we came up with the best of what Twin Forks is because of that. But it also meant starting in the basements again.
Yeah.
And I was okay with that. I was like, this is music that deserves the right to succeed or fail on its own. I believe it'll succeed, but I want to know that it wasn't because of the bands we were in.
The great thing about Twin Forks is the kid. When I was in high school and I loved Swiss Army Romance, I wouldn't love a Twin Forks record, I don't think. But now I'm at an age where I still love that record and that sound, but I'm ready for this, which is a cool thing for someone that's kind of grown along with your career, and I think that's really neat.
That's the best thing I could hear. I don't know what to say to
Good,
that.
I'm glad I could say the best thing you could hear.
We hear that every now and again, and that's all we could have hoped for.
Right.
You know, that it hits you in the same place, but now with the person you are now, with your new life experience.
Absolutely.
And it's not nostalgia, and it's not the same old thing. And
you know what? That speaks a lot to you as a genuine songwriter too. Is that, you know, of course you're not going to write the same record that you wrote, 10 years ago or however many years ago. Like, you wrote too. That's why it makes sense. That's why that whole equation works.
Yeah, I don't suppose I could if I tried.
Well, here tonight, North Star Bar in Philadelphia.
One of my favorite places, actually. I love this bar.
Twin Forks. Thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you, man.
I appreciate it. Awesome. Thank you so much.
It's a great chat.